I'm coming from the experience of the practitioner, but also a partner in, as Maura said, the Fliara project. So I'm going to come from that angle. This was the female-led innovation in agriculture and rural areas project, which is just finishing in the last couple of months now of 2025. A very, very quick 3 years. I won't go into a huge amount of detail just because of time, but the website is there. I'm sure many of you are aware of the project. If you're not, please have a look at the website because fantastic project on innovation, female-led innovation in agriculture and rural areas. But what I wanted to talk about this morning was our experience as that civil society organisation, the non-academic. We're not coming as the research organisation. We're coming very much as the practitioner. And to tell you a little bit about ourselves, we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year in Longford Women's Link. And our aim is to support women to fulfil their economic and social potential within rural communities. So we have a number of different key services and programmes. We provide training and education. We are a QQI centre. We also have third level outreach. We have a women and local democracy project, childcare, a domestic violence service, all of those services that you see listed there. And then we obviously look a lot at women in enterprise and women in self-employment. But really, when we look at on the right-hand side, this is our service delivery model for our strategic plan and how we integrate all of those services into one model. And that women can be coming in and out of various aspects of those services and coming in and out of that model as they journey through different stages of their lives, through their economic journey, through their personal journey, through overcoming various different barriers like domestic violence, lack of childcare and all of that. And that's what we felt was really important to bring to a project like Fliara. So it was really essential for us to be that voice between the academic and the policy and the actual realities for women on the ground. Just to give you an idea of projects we've worked with before in Erasmus Plus, before we started working with Maura and the Galway team on the Horizon projects, but we have done a number of European projects under Erasmus Plus, very much focused on digital entrepreneurship, digital skills, and particularly for women. The DUE project was one that we were the lead partner on, which finished about 2 years ago, and that looked in depth at digital entrepreneurship for women. So these were all skills that we felt we could bring on a practical level to a project like Fliara. And I think speaking as a practitioner, speaking as the civil society representative, if you like, it was really important for us to be able to highlight the achievements that we had made. We are a small organisation, but we do like to think sometimes that we punch above our weight in some areas. So it was really important for us to be able to point to previous projects that we had worked on, and again, how we bring that practical experience for women to the table. So from the practitioner perspective, there's a huge relevance of projects to organisations like ourselves because, again, from our perspective, the emphasis was always on that co-creation of knowledge, that multi-actor collaboration and building those relationships between academic organisations, research, and ensuring that the voice of women on the ground was always included as part of the project. And that was really, really important in Fliara. And it was a huge strength of the project. I'm not saying it was our sole achievement to do that. It was a multi-actor, achievement. But I think from a practical perspective, as an organisation that is rooted in rural communities and rooted in the experiences of women and the barriers that they still, unfortunately, are experiencing, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's lack of access to services, lack of childcare, transport, lack of recognition of the value of the work that women do. And one of the big things that has come out from our perspective of the Fliara project is that focus on choice for women, particularly in enterprise. And we would have always been an advocate for, that choice for women. If what she wants to do is set up a business that supports her family, then that is an achievement. And that is exactly what Fliara is about. It doesn't have to be about employing 20, 30, 40 people. So a lot of that about choice, and we felt we were able to bring that perspective to the table. And then the value of that contribution to policy papers and research. So being able to input on things like work-life balance, childcare, transport, and the issue of underrepresentation of women in public life, the issue of domestic violence, which unfortunately is a huge barrier to women's participation in social and economic life. And I suppose we felt really that our role was to ground that project in the everyday realities of women in rural areas. So it's that bridge between the research and the lived experiences of women and communities on the ground. So finally, our lessons learned. One lesson that we would be really, really vocal about is that practitioner involvement is not an add-on. And sometimes we do get calls from consortiums saying, look, we were looking for a women's organisation. Can you come on board? And we're very much against being funding led. You know, we all need funding to survive. We all need funding to be able to carry out the work that we carry out. But we are only led by proposals and consortia that match our values and that really look at that experience of women and how it can enrich the outcomes of the project. So, you know, we have turned down consortia before where we know that they're looking at us because we're a women's organisation and we're a nice little add-on and we tick a box. That's not what you know, from our perspective, multi-actor projects are about. So that for us, the practice informed perspective is really, really critical. The trust and communication, I felt there was a huge amount of trust and really, really excellent communication in the Fliara project. And that's when these projects work best because all the voices, the academic, the policy, the community, they're all equally valued and heard. And even though, as I said, we're a very small organisation compared to some of the other partners, we always felt that our perspective was included, was listened to, and was taken on board. And then finally, for us, the flexibility and the patience, because these are huge projects. So for anyone who's on this call, who's thinking of getting involved, yes, they are time consuming. Yes, they are complex, but they are so powerful when they are, you know, when they succeed in the way that Fliara has done. And there are obviously challenges, and you know, Richie has spoken a lot about them in terms of the application process and reporting and all of that. But it's the differences across the sectors and the differences across countries that make the outcomes and make the results so powerful. So I suppose for us, we felt it was like a really important learning journey, but also an opportunity, and really acting as that bridge between the reality and the knowledge and the practice. So a very, very positive experience for us, and I'm very happy to take any questions. Thanks a million, Maura. Yeah, we do. We get requests. You know, we have, I suppose, particularly through, well, a couple of aspects of our work. One, our See Her Elected project, which is now a national project, which looks at women in local democracy. That has brought a lot of publicity to Longford Women's Link. And also our work in domestic violence. We've done a lot of interagency work over the last couple of years and, you know, kind of built up our profile there as well. So you do get a lot of requests. You know, we're looking for X, we're looking for Y, you fit the bill. And you have to kind of look and say, okay, we fit your bill, but do you fit ours? Now, I'm very lucky in that I have a board who, you know, we would all share very similar thinking in terms of how we approach funding requests, and we would rather stay true to our values and stay involved with projects that are meaningful and that we can see the value of and that link to what it is we do than chase the money. You can chase the money. I mean, there are Erasmus calls every, you know, on various different aspects that we have looked at over the years, and you could be bringing in quite a lot of money, you know, very easily. Is that where you want to be as an organisation that was founded to support women and to, you know, to ensure that what you're doing is enriching their lives and the lives of their families and the community? And I have to say that it always shows. It always shows in a project if people are there for the money. You know, yeah. We've seen it over the years. It always shows because that, you know, to use the Irish word, that graw, that love for what you do isn't there if it's, you know, preceded by a dollar sign. My first reaction was, oh God, that's a bit big for us. You know, we're not an academic organization. We're not a big, you know, policy organization either. But the fact that we had worked and we built it up over the years, you know, we started working on a project with Irish Rural Link. I know James is on the call here this morning. And then we were partners in other projects. And then we decided to go and lead a project, and we were successful there. And that's all about building confidence. So then when something which, you know, and the Horizon projects are much bigger, let's be honest, they're much more complex in terms of reporting. But yeah, you do need, I think you do need a little bit of that confidence. And as you say, to cut your teeth, maybe in the smaller arena. Like Erasmus is fantastic for that. Really, really fantastic for that. And it allows you to, you know, to hone your skills in terms of even working with European partners and working on, you know, various different aspects and the complexities that come along with that. Because again, you're working with private organizations, you're working with civil society, you're working with education organizations, all of that mix. So from our perspective, it really did help because we felt we had, I think 4 projects that we had been either partner or led on. And it definitely does give you that piece of confidence.